Oh my! Is this content? Am I actually making real content right now? And it's not just a 60-second short about how everything was going wrong with the race car sitting somewhere over there. I'm making content. Oh, welcome back, you shitbox enthusiasts, and apologies to my Volvo fans ahead of time, but things are changing, and I probably made a decision for the worst. Because a month ago, I picked something up. I picked up this lovely shit box down in Chicago. Yes, it's a B8 A4 wagon, and unfortunately it's not a 6-speed, but it does have the ZF8, and it is a 2-liter turbo motor. A couple of things kind of motivated this. I was having reoccurring issues with the Volvo's power steering lines. I finally fixed it by hacking it in half and using AN lines. Much better. Seals perfectly now. But during that time, I got so frustrated with it that I started shopping, like all idiots do, on the Facebook Marketplace. I was looking for another wagon. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, A4s are pretty decent in size and looking and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. And, honestly, I was just kind of contemplating, the Volvo's coming up in age. I wanted to build something. But the Volvo is a shit platform to build on, in all honesty. ECUs, crappy. If I was going to get a Haltech working with it, it'd be a lot of work. I'd have to get the CAN bus working with it, and then you're stuck wondering whether your Haldex will actually work. Yeah, not things I love to deal with. Also, building out those motors, dumb expensive, like silly. So I convinced myself that this A4 wasn't a bad deal, and I went and picked it up. And it looked all right. It drove fine. But the owner withheld a few things from me. I didn't realize that it had hail damage by the time until I brought it home the next morning and saw it under my lights. Told me the timing chain was good to go. Was not. Cam phaser pulling 6 degrees lately. That's why it's on here. Also, a couple other things. The seatbelts. He had an accident in the rear, and I guess the module never got replaced. And it has an intermittent boost leak or something that doesn't make, it doesn't hit quite the right pressure. Now, this may or may not be the cause of it. It's got a dented intercooler, and not a problem. I picked up a CX Racing intercooler. I've never seen a design like this. I'm kind of wondering if it'll actually be any more efficient, but hey, it was like $100. It's a little bigger, just not as wide. But it's got a very weird fin and tube profile. Never seen like this. Whatever. I mean, anything's got to be better than stock, I'm assuming. Could be wrong. Could be really wrong. And so here we are. Still have the Volvo. But we're going to be doing a timing chain, both fuel pumps. I don't actually need to do the fuel pumps as far as I can tell, but I've had four pumps fail on me now in 1 year in 3 different cars. And I just don't want to take the risk. And I'm supposed to take a road trip to Canada because I want to go to Whistler. I want to do some mountain biking. I've been stuck in this fucking country for too long. And, these are okay cars. It's nowhere near as utilitarian as the Volvo, in all honesty. Much smaller on the inside. Design-wise, we'll have a comparison later. I'm not really that impressed with the A4, but it does have a lower seating position and feels a little bit more sporty handling-wise. But the big problem is that these 2-liter motors are garbage. But supposedly the pistons and rings were replaced in this. Now, and I saw other parts that came with the car, water pump and all this other crap. So like the maintenance supposedly has been done, and it did drive honestly fine as long as I've been driving it. But I figure with a timing chain stretching out as much as it is, and it being a known issue on these, I'm just going to take care of it now before I don't want to end up stranded somewhere like halfway through the country in a shit box. Because if that's the case, just abandoning it. I don't care. On top of which, we'll be doing some intercooler hoses because there could be a leak from there. And while I do understand I could have done a leak down test, honestly, I don't like the idea of rubber hoses. I'll also probably be throwing in a high flow air filter and getting rid of anything that isn't, well, getting rid of anything that is a rubber hose and replacing it with an actual coupler and aluminum pipe. That'll all be part of this. I was very tempted to just replace the turbo and do a tune. But that's the other issue. Apparently, tuning B8 A4s is also garbage. The only software that exists is Maestro, and everyone shit talks Maestro, and apparently it's not all that great for logging, tuning, and so on and so forth. So, while it is done from time to time, it's not great. And I don't feel like making a grenade. As Audis at 150,000 miles are already grenades, as far as I'm concerned. The grenades at 70,000 miles, as anyone should be concerned. But this one was clean enough. Interior is pretty immaculate, minus a few things here and there that will never bother me. And I also don't like the fact that it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, and to do it, you have to buy a unit, and then it covers up the screen. Whatever, I don't give a crap. It'll suit my needs for now. But once I figured out that there's no real good tuning solution for these cars, I kind of lost interest in doing anything with this engine. Hence why I'm not just doing a manifold and a turbo right away. I'm not gonna bother with the downpipe and exhaust, even though that gave me some horses with a stage 2 tune. That is way too much money for just a simple fucking map flash, in my opinion. So, right before I bought this, I convinced myself, at the price I got it for, which honestly, I should have gotten it for 4 and not 5, but I got it for $5K. Not terrible. Clean enough, looks nice, drives decent. At some point, something here will change. And it might be supercharged V6 out of the S4s, or I might get as dumb as some other people and yob the fucking 4-liter V8 in here. Don't know. I'm honestly getting old. I'm getting a little tired. I've built so many cars and projects over the last 3 years that I'm losing a little bit of interest. I need a change in pace for a bit, hence this trip to Canada. And honestly, next year, the only thing I want to focus on is maybe some aero and brakes on the MX-5 for a little while. Like, just develop one car. Be done with the Camaro and all that stuff. I'm burning. I'm burning hard. So, join along on this new adventure I'm taking. Owning an Audi again for the 3rd time in my life. First 2, terrible decisions. But I'm an in-the-closet Audi fanboy. I don't know what it is about these fucking cars. I always come back to them at some point, and I usually end up hating myself for it. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I've learned a lot in my many years of life now, and maybe I've learned something about these. Maybe thanks to Google and maybe not going overboard on this will be fine. That's the idea. We're just going to maintenance this. Timing chain, fuel pumps, a few ancillary items, and a solenoid here that might also be causing the low boost threshold issue. Anything's possible. It could be a bad turbo. If it's a bad turbo, I'm going to be really pissed off because these KO3s they're whatever. I would have liked to have just bought an eBay, G25 660 or 550 knockoff and built a manifold and done it the right way. But because the tuning options are so limited and so shitty for these motors that I don't want to go that route. I really don't. I'm hoping the turbo is fine, or at least fine for the next 20 to 25,000 miles, or up until I'm dumb enough to do some kind of swap in this. And yes, I did consider a K-swap, but by the time you add up like even a handful of parts, you're already at the price of just buying a salvaged S4 that runs and just shoving everything in here. Because let's be honest, 400 foot-pounds horsepower and torque after like a pulley mod and a few things, more than enough for a daily. That's peachy. The V8 was only because they're honestly kind of cheap, and I belong to a single turbo V8 group for those 4 liters, and it just looked cool, and I kind of was like, oh, I could do that. That'd be dope. How hard could it be? Just taking off this front was infuriating. And it's not even that hard. It's just Audi shit, It's just like a trillion bolts to get this off. While efficient, still annoying for the first time. But yeah, stick around. Let's do some timing chain bullshit.